You're listening to TorontoFingerstyleGuitar.com.
Dave?
Al.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how's it going?
Good.
So you're in Denver, eh?
Yeah, we just arrived at Red Rocks about, 10, 15 minutes ago or so. It's a little bit crazy here. There's like 1 million people out at this show. And
Yeah, well, it's an awesome venue, eh?
it is an awesome venue. I'd forgotten how awesome it is. When I got up on stage and looked out at it, it is really breathtaking.
Great. So you're enjoying the tour? Things are going good, eh?
Yeah, things are going great. Yeah, a little tired. It's been tough going. You know?
Yeah, I looked at the itinerary on the website. It seems like it's a little busier than the last one, eh?
Yeah, and it's, we're a few years older, and we feel it. But anyways, it's all good. The crowds have been awesome. We've been playing well, and the show has been good, looking good, so.
Great. Let me check my recorder here, make everything...
Okay.
No, we're good to go. So,
good.
And I appreciate you doing this. I know how busy you are, so that's great.
No problem.
I thought first we'd talk about, we kind of talk about a lot of the acoustics because, of the Fingerstyle Association and stuff, and of course you're including so much of the acoustic stuff in the new record.
Right.
And Hope is a great track, and it really comes alive in the 5.1 mix too. And I just wanted to know kind of what you were thinking when you were writing it, and if you had other pieces, if you had lots to choose from. And I know that Stephen Bennett was actually mentioning he was going to learn it and play it on his dobro. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What a compliment that.
Yeah. Because that's what he was saying in Nashville. Oh, yeah. So I just I was wondering, how did you? It kind of really goes along well with the tone of the record as well.
Yeah.
So obviously you took that into consideration. Did you write a whole handful of tunes, or?
What we ended up doing with that is, when we were writing the album, I'd sit in the back. Geddy does most of the editing when we're writing. In the daytime, anyways, and then in the evenings I work with Neil, and we work a little differently. But while he's doing that, I usually sit in the back of the room and I just, pick up a guitar and I strum along and then play stuff. And a few times he looked back and he said, "You've got to do something acoustically on the record. It's really crying out for it. And you should play some of that stuff that you play." And I thought, okay, yeah, that's a great idea. I'd love to do that, but I didn't prepare anything, and I really wanted to keep it very much unprepared and as spontaneous as possible. I certainly had lots of bits and pieces, and you and I have jammed together on similar sort of things.
Yeah.
But we kept it until the very end. We finished all the recording. We struck the live room. All the gear was gone, and then we set up for that. And Rich Chicky set up, I think he set up 5 mics.
I was going to ask you about that, but yeah, right.
Yeah, I was in kind of a little cage, but he had his tape measure out, and it was a very, very precise measurement that he took for what he wanted to achieve with that, with the spatial character of that recording.
Because, like I
I'm
said,
not surprised in 5.1 it comes across.
Well,
it's not
right it's not that it's not great in stereo, but it is much different in 5.1. It kind of goes, oh wow, I get it, and not that so much the piece, but just sonically, it's pretty wild. And of course, Rich is great, and he's been doing the 5.1 thing for a long time. And I wondered, so did he use mics? Like, is it like the center speaker? Would that be like a close mic to the center of the guitar? Was he doing that, or was he? Yeah.
And it's been a while, and I can't remember exactly what mics he used. You can always I think you probably have Rich's number. You can always give him a call and ask him.
Yeah.
But it's a thing that he likes to do with acoustics. And so we once we set up for that, we started, and I played through a version of what Hope is. And it was very spontaneous. I kind of had an idea of where I wanted to go, but I just started playing, and whatever came out was going to be what it was. I fully intended to do 5 or 6 takes, and then maybe see what worked the best, and then do an edit, and then re-record it.
Yeah.
So the second take, we played it through. First take, he was adjusting mic levels and a little bit of EQ, and then the second take was the take. And the guys were in the control room, and everybody's waving at me to come in. And I said, "Okay, well, I just did 1 take. maybe I should do some more before I come in. They were like, no, come in. And they came in, and everybody said it was awesome, it was great.
Well, things have a way of percolating and organizing subconsciously, don't they, when you live with them for a while?
Well, exactly, and that's really what I wanted to get out of it for myself. I didn't want it to feel rehearsed, and I didn't want it to feel thought out and overly prepared. Like, I really wanted it to be a very pure expression of playing. And
well, so many of these guys talk about, like John Knowles and all these guys who've been doing this solo guitar thing for years, and they're much older, and they always say the same thing. They want it to sound like you're in the room playing, and it's relaxed, and it's not like a big deal, and it's not labored over, and that's really important, isn't it?
Yeah, it is very, very important. It certainly is for me. I think probably what is most comfortable for me in terms of songwriting and playing is the spontaneous aspect of it. And that's why Geddy and I work well together, because he's a little opposite to that. I'm like full of ideas that pop out and I lose interest quickly, so I like to move forward like that. Yeah. Whereas he's a little more methodical and a little more thoughtful and a little more organizational in that sense. And that's why we really work well together. We're great at throwing ideas at each other and coming to something like a really positive synergy. Yeah,
and and tonally with the Garrison guitars, a Canadian guitar maker, right?
Right. And I was recently purchased by Gibson, in fact.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Because I was just down in the Gibson factory a couple of weeks ago and down in Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Because I was thinking, it kind of occurred to me that the Garrisons have the kind of synthetic braces, and I thought maybe that would make them kind of brighter and a little thinner, but that would actually, with your stuff, make sense because it would cut through the mix more, because Rich is probably thinning out kind of backing guitars, isn't he, just to make up, so they cut over all the heavy, big, giant electric tones.
Well, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
I think Rich, with the number of acoustics I put on, Rich had quite a time, and he thinned out quite dramatically. In fact, I think probably some of the acoustic sounds, if you heard them on their own,
be weird.
Shocked at how they sounded.
Yeah.
But the role of that particular guitar in the song was to provide, something like a rhythmic presence or something that's tucked into the hi-hat. And I like to incorporate a lot of acoustic work on a lot of our music for that purpose, where it is a very rhythmic thing, and it's almost subliminal, but you just kind of hear it going back and forth and knitting in with the hi-hat and playing kind of opposite to maybe what the hi-hat is doing. And I think it adds a nice element without standing out too much.
And I think what's interesting, too, is that some of the guitars that you were choosing to use, the smaller body things, parlor guitars or mandola or the bouzouki, all have that kind of register a little bit, where they are more kind of zingy and kind of and that so it certainly seems to work well that you're attracted to that kind of
well, I had
sound.
no shortage of really nice acoustics there that had very different characteristics and played different roles.
Yeah.
And it's nice. I have to say that I really quite like the Garrisons. I like the fact that they're made in Canada. I think they make a great guitar. I think they're very dedicated to what they do.
Yeah.
I like the innovative approach that they have to the bracing inside the guitars. I think it's very effective. I find with this guitar, in a live situation, it's really a great guitar because the bottom end is really kind of a little more controlled.
Yeah.
And with a live application like this, especially with other stuff going around, drums and that.
I know a lot of guys spend a lot of money on really fancy pickup systems that don't work so well. They're always fussing over them, and sometimes just a piezo that's properly balanced is kind of just appropriate, especially at louder volumes. Is that what you just have in yours?
Well, are you talking about the
inside the guitars for live?
Garrisons,
are you mixing microphones as well, or is it just the piezos?
The Garrisons, they've got Fishman transducers in them.
Oh, okay.
The piezos, but we're also running them through the Fishman Aura.
Right.
So we're getting a little bit of additional shaping before it goes out to the console.
Yeah.
So I think we're getting quite a good acoustic, pretty natural acoustic sound without using any microphones.
Great, yeah. Because I know sometimes the little tiny microphones inside the guitar are kind of cool. They work for some people, but...
We tried that, but it was a little dark,
Yeah.
And
well, to cut through all the ginormous sound.
Yeah, I could see it if I was sitting in the middle of the stage and just playing.
Yeah.
But in almost all the songs except Hope, where I use acoustics, the whole band is playing, and it would just get completely washed. We need that clear articulation that that mic usually provides the warmth, you know, and that's not really an issue for us.
And I wanted to mention a couple of the in the credits. Maybe you could talk a little bit. I know you've been mentioning Stephen Bennett and David Gilmour in some of your articles and stuff, and he's mentioned in credits in the new CD.
Yeah.
Stephen gave you that capo.
Yeah.
Which I guess you'd never really used before, did you?
No. Stephen was, well, I think you were with me the night I met Stephen.
Yeah.
And I'd been playing a lot of acoustic around that time. I know you and I got together a few times, and I was really kind of feeling an acoustic thing. And that's what was great about recording Snakes and Arrows. It was really an acoustic record. I mean, I wrote the whole all the guitar stuff on acoustic for this record. And when I met with Stephen and saw him play and heard him play and goofed around with the harp guitar and kind of struggled to get my head around it, you know, we were at is it Paul or who's
with the church?
No, afterwards when we went back Randy's place. Randy's place. I lost my train of thought. It was just nice to jam with him and play a little bit and talk about guitar.
Yeah, I was wondering if you're thinking the same thing I was too, because I had kind of been aware a little bit of, you know, the capos and the partial capos, and I got one afterwards as well. And the thing is, but I was kind of afraid to start messing with them because I thought, oh no, God, I'm going to open up a new world of pain here, and like, is my head going to explode? You know?
Yeah, well, that happens, but for me,
but it's good
exciting.
Though. Yeah.
Because I've been playing with some different tunings and screwing around, and I wanted to look at the guitar as a new instrument, and what better way than to put stuff and tune things in such a way that you're totally uncomfortable with it, and you have to learn to play around it.
Yeah, and people, I mean, you can't underestimate the power of how important guitar is to people, especially in bands like your band and other bands of that genre. And if that element is, I mean, when it's prominent, I think it really speaks to people. You know, and I was going to mention too about some of the writing. I know you guys were writing on acoustics, and I think that you probably went in that period lasted quite a while there, where you were probably exchanging demos and writing kind of that way, and then maybe even tracking drums to clicks without or to recorded backing tracks, so you weren't even in the room, probably all three of you playing bed tracks, right?
Seldom.
Yeah. Oh, did you ever go through a period doing that when you were tracking, when you kind of add the drums in later?
Typically, we set up as we're writing. We play to a drum machine or a click track.
Yeah.
And then Neil will, you know, put his, as they develop, his drum parts on. We'll quite often re-record some of the stuff because now, you know, he's feeling it a little differently, and we want to match it a little better. And then we'll use those instrument tracks as our guide tracks. And then once we get into the proper recording, Neil will re-record the drums, and then we'll re-record everything else. Main Monkey Business, we did go in and played it off the floor. That was the one song where we wanted to get everybody playing it and get a feel for it.
But that really translates, doesn't it? I mean, there's something happens, like especially even at the end of the tune, when it really starts to get really powerful.
Yeah.
I love how the hi-hat pans around the room in 5.1 at the end. That's wicked.
Yeah, that song live is sounding better and better every day.
Yeah, so you're happy with how the new stuff's sounding live then, eh? Because I know it's a lot of work.
Great. It's a lot of work.
9 songs,
we probably spent 3 weeks just getting these songs in a shape that was, adequate for us.
I mean, if you think about it, you can imagine you guys have never done a tour where you've done 9 new songs, right? Because the LPs weren't that long back then.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
But to commit to 9 songs, I think it says something, and we really celebrated our history 3 years ago at the R30 tour, and we played all the old material, or a lot of old material, and we sort of got that out of our system. And now we like to feel like we're moving forward. We're still doing, those classic Rush songs that we'll have to play until the band is finished, but to bring 9 new songs into the set, I think, says that we're not thinking about the past anymore. We're trying to move forward, and we want to be a modern, contemporary band.
And of course it's going over just probably as well as the last tour, right?
Well, even better.
Yeah.
Our attendance is up across the board. The reviews have all been extremely positive. I think we're playing perhaps the best we've ever played.
Yeah.
Sonically, it's sounding really good. So we're in a good state right now.
Right on. I got just one more question, I guess, which I thought is kind of interesting. Something I wonder if you ever noticed. A lot of disciplines and from athletes to musicians will kind of cross-train and work on some other area that kind of spills over and affects the area they're working on. Like you'll have golfers that'll weight lift, you'll have musicians that'll meditate or do archery, like Steve Howe does archery. I was wondering if you've noticed I know you've been doing a little bit of yoga for the last couple of years and of course you golf. Do you notice that stuff kind of makes you a better musician or kind of makes you think better or differently towards, have you noticed that at all?
I'll tell you, it makes me a happier musician.
Oh, yeah.
And that is the key on the road. Your worst enemy on the road is boredom.
Yeah.
It's one thing to sit in your room and play all day, but I don't know anybody who does that. I certainly don't. I might have when I was younger, but I certainly don't need to do that now or feel the need to do that now. But for me, a little bit of yoga, the golf, getting out of my room, breathing some fresh air, being with other people, separating myself from the band and what I do is a really, really good thing for me as a musician. As a touring musician, I should probably qualify.
Yeah.
I think it's important to have different things going in your life. Everybody's, got a lot of other interests, and it's important to pursue them, especially when you're on the road.
Yeah. Great. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time out. I know how busy you are, so enjoy the rest of the tour.
Great.
And I guess we'll see you when you get back.
Okay, great.
Thanks a lot, Al.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah, I'll talk to you.
Okay.
See ya.